Saddle up your horses.
Pitter patter. Let's get at her. It is another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. The Broncos are streaking. We're going streaking. Minus, taking the clothes off and everything like that. But anyway, we are going streaking. It is 6 in a row. Possibly bound to be 7 in a row for the Denver Broncos as they play the Vegas Raiders on Thursday night. And it could be a lot of fun. Because it certainly seems like the Broncos they haven't played a clean bit of football, but you've definitely seen the sides of offense and defense. And there's been a few games here and there where they've been able to put them together. But the fact they really haven't been able to put all of it together and yet still win 6 games, it's a credit to how good this Denver Broncos team is. Before we dive into any of all of that, make sure you hit the subscribe button for the MHRT Network page over there on YouTube. Also follow us over there on Facebook, the MHRT Network page over there on Facebook. We are also doing the YouTube channel of Mainly Broncos. So make sure you hit the subscribe button for Mainly Broncos on YouTube. We're pushing a whole bunch of short form content on the YouTube Shorts, on TikTok, on Instagram. Frankly, we've been quite popular as of late on some of the on some of the Instagram reels and funny reels, if you will, that have been out there. And of course, follow the guys over there on social at Brandon Miller PO. He will be back next week. Follow Jordan at Jordan T. Lopez. And follow myself at Cameron Parker PO. How we doing, Jordan?
Doing good.
You doing good?
Doing good.
The vibes are good.
What happened?
The vibes are good.
Vibes are good. College basketball just started on Monday, so it's another spectacular sport that I am in love with. So I got college basketball going on. High school basketball season is about to start, so we're already underway with all the practicing and stuff like that. I'm busy every single day, and then I got the Broncos to top it all off.
I mean, I assume you've got your priorities in order, so that like you got your basketball game tomorrow, so that you at least are able to watch the game tomorrow.
So yeah, now I have basketball practice from 5:30 to 7:30. Broncos game is at 8:15. I will be leaving right after practice. I will be talking to nobody. I will just get in my car and go straight home. So.
That's usually what you always want, right? Like you want to make sure that you're not missing a beat of the fourth quarter when it comes to the Broncos offense. So the good news is we do have our game ball video. We'll hand out our game balls here in just a little bit. First things first, because for our first things first is better than the other first things first on FS1, because we don't have Nick Wright on our show. We don't have a guy who looks like a gargoyle. So anyway, first things first. Let's talk about this trade deadline. Let's talk about this trade deadline. Really did get kind of our emotions up and down. Even though myself wasn't really expecting a move, the buildup seemed like it was getting to that point. That we were going to make a move. However, I came down back to reality, and they ended up not making a move. They did check on some players, right, Jordan?
Correct. And I know we were texting back and forth a little bit for a few days about a certain player and fortunately what I had been hearing and stuff, which again, not no insider of anything of any kind. So, but to be in a position to know certain things, I was at least grateful to get some things behind the scenes. And at one point, it did seem very, very positive, as you know. And then at the end of the day, I understand the emotions got everybody involved in it, including myself. I mean, at one point, I was extremely upset, and especially with how things were going. But I think at the end of the day, the Broncos still have a really good team. It would have been extremely fun to add a high elite quality player to this team, but the Broncos, as reported by many people, will be aggressive in free agency, which is also another fun aspect. So, that we keep our picks, and we're just going to be aggressive in free agency. At the end of the day, I still believe in the wide receiver room. I've
Do you believe in Pat Bryant?
um, we'll keep that for another day. But I do believe in the room. I've voiced my concerns with how Mims should play more than 30% of the snaps, like he's been doing for some reason this season. There is talent in that room.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. It's just the utilization part of it. And I think as the season goes on, it'll get better. For some reason, and I know I'm rambling on a little bit, but I have to speak about this. The Troy Franklin ups and downs between the fan base and Troy, bit odd for me. I won't lie. I think Troy is well on pace to get over 800 yards. I thought he's been pretty good for the season that he's having. I know he's had a few drops, but he's also had some catches that have been big. So it's been kind of twofold with it, but I still believe in that room, and I think they'll step it up.
Well, and so that kind of goes to the thing that I've been mentioning, right? Like where when I mentioned this in our chat, where it's one where I'm fine with the room. But if you can go and get a Waddle, if you can go and get an Olave, if you can go out and get a Shaheed, I'm not saying no to that because you're addressing something. Now, specifically Waddle, I will say this. I have a feeling that thing's not dead. I don't think that thing's dead. Because, I mean, Jordan and I know that the Waddle stuff, yesterday was the first time that it was that public, like that public, that Jalen Waddle really liked Denver and wanted to come to Denver, and that the Broncos were even interested in him. And so that was like the first real time where the Waddle stuff kind of came out. And so, and contractually, the way that Waddle is constructed, I'm not ruling out a revisit in the offseason. I am not ruling that out. And I think the other side of this too is there's that angle with the Peyton offense that I think we need to talk about, and that makes trades in general with Sean and the Broncos a little tricky, and that is they are coming into an offense that is a little bit more complicated. And so if they are coming into this team, they have a bit of an uphill climb in understanding the offense and understanding the verbiage and, et cetera. And so I think that may be playing a little bit into it as far as some of the trade deadline. And obviously Sean's history, I mean, he's traded for wide receivers, but he hasn't traded for a wide receiver at the deadline in his entire career, which I thought was interesting. And that was pointed out by Luca Evans or Devin, depending on how Sean calls him. But no, I just think that, it's one where I'm kind of filing away the fact that the Broncos kicked some tires significantly on Jalen Waddle. And even though it didn't happen, that is a move that I am wondering if we do kick the tires there at some point in that offseason this next offseason.
The Dolphins will have a new GM unless they promote Champ Kelly to the head general manager. I don't believe they do that. So whoever the new general manager is, we'll have to see what his vision is for that team. Is he going to build around Patrick Paul, Waddle, and A-Chain, or does he want to recoup some picks and kind of build it from scratch? So we'll see how the Dolphins will operate. I can't really tell you a for sure certain thing what they're going to do. That there are probably the more mysterious teams out there heading into the offseason with what they're going to do.
Yeah, and so again, it's one where we weren't upset by the idea that they were wanting to add someone. It was there, like that opportunity was there for them to add to it, and unfortunately, that trigger couldn't be pulled. But again, it has nothing to do with the fact that we don't like the room, because as Jordan alluded to, I mean, he's pickier than anyone when it comes to wide receiver room. So if he says that he likes the room, that's at least good to hear. Now, granted, there might be a certain someone in the room might need a bit, persuasion a little bit.
There's talent in the room for sure.
Yeah. I will say, talking about that game though, and that specific someone in terms of the persuasion, it was really nice in that game against the Texans, where the Broncos, they made the plays when they need. And granted, every game when you're going up against an elite defense, those are going to be ugly. They're going to be ugly. They're going to be a dogfight. And the fact that they were able to make the plays that they needed to, and Pat Bryant specifically making the plays that he needed to get in that soft spot of zones, and they weren't. I mean, some were slant plays, some were not slant plays. But the fact that we were able to see a play like that on a key 3rd and 11 where Bo was able to find it and layer it in the middle part of the field and find him, that is a positive sign for not just Bo, but specifically Pat Bryant as well in those kind of key moments.
Yeah, it is. I'll give credit where credit due. That was a great play by both players, especially with Bo he was inaccurate for that game. I think we can all agree about that. I think every hater will tell you that. I think every Bo believer will tell you that. He was highly inaccurate, but in a down that we needed to move the chains, right in the middle of 3 people, he threads it in there, and Pat Bryant comes down with it for a first down. I mean, it's remarkable how every fourth quarter, when we need a play is going to be made. It's awesome to see.
Well, and I think that to quickly transition to this Houston game, I don't mean to piss off, some people on this one, but it's just how I'm interpreting the whole narrative of the Broncos offense is, it's like they were wanting the Broncos to go into Houston and light them up like a Christmas tree, or a Thanksgiving turkey, if we're going to use the month of November, light them up like a Thanksgiving turkey and score 4 touchdowns from their quarterback or 5 touchdowns from their quarterback on Houston in order for them to actually come away impressed, or even impressed with the idea that they are AFC contenders. Like that's the kind of thought that I've been thinking in terms of like interpreting it. The fact is that the Broncos went into a game where it was going to be a struggle, as we even alluded to, because of the fact it's an elite defense, and those types of games, whether circumstances and everything that unfolds when it came to the Houston game regarding quarterback or just even how their offense was operating, that is still a playoff environment. Like that is a playoff environment. That is almost close to a Super Bowl environment down there in Houston. And the Broncos made the play when it mattered in the fourth quarter to beat a defense that is arguably, in some statistics, better than them because of some plays that were made down in that point in the fourth quarter. So I think that if there's something that we should be taking solace in, it's the fact that the Broncos offense that everybody hates on made some specific plays that got them into field goal range to win that game.
Yeah, I was trying to find the tweet right now, but the top lowest completion percentages in wins for quarterbacks, 3 of the top 6 have been against the Texans defense. So, I mean, the Texans defense, again, one of the best defenses in the league. So they are going to force good quarterbacks, bad quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks into a low completion percentage. And it's going to be a struggle. I mean, that stat will tell you all of it. I do believe. Listen, going into games, coaches know what type of game it's going to be. I know Sean Payton's been in this business for a long time. He knew going into that game that you have to just get this game into the fourth quarter and continue just to make it a one possession game, and we'll come out at the end of it. It wasn't going to be pretty. We all talked about it. They knew it. They just got to kept on pushing and fighting and grinding, and that's what we did.
And sometimes in those defensive games, it's just not going to go your way. But it's a defensive battle. Like those are the nature of those ugly games. And I think that we should also probably talk about the main part or one of the main courses of that game, and that was on the defensive side. We'll talk a little bit more about the offensive side, but defensively, we have to specifically focus on just how good that defense was. Now, to address that big elephant in the room, which was that hit, which has been all over Texans Twitter, all over Broncos Twitter. How dumb do you have to be to actually watch that hit? And listen, Jordan and I watch a lot of college football. Yes. They do a thing in college football that is called targeting. They review targeting. And the NFL doesn't have one where they'll replay it and then they'll eject a player. I mean, they do replay assist, but it's not the same, Like they can replay it and find out whether or not it's actually, an unnecessary roughness or not.
Yeah.
How can you honestly look at a play like that when Chris Abrams-Drain is turning his head, and then his elbow, not his noggin, is going to the other side, and then it's hitting into CJ Stroud. Now, obviously, prayers up to CJ Stroud for a speedy recovery. But any Texans fan, I get the fact we're upset about it, but how are you not looking at a play like that, Jordan, just being like, wow, that was a fast, clean hit?
I mean, again, replay assist, they looked at it and they thought it was clean. I thought it was clean once we saw the replay. Again, it's just unfortunate that it was the starting quarterback. I think if the roles were reversed and it happened to our quarterback, we'd be just as upset. But I think at the end of the day, once you look at the replay and know it's a clean hit, it's just an unfortunate circumstance that happened in the game. I know a lot of people say that CJ, slid late, he did all these things, but
I'd have some truth to that.
Yeah, and I just think at the end of the day, it's unfortunate. It's a bang play. Obviously, KD did not mean to do it. Like, he didn't mean to concuss him at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah, as soon as he hit him and saw CJ kind of get into that state that you get to when you get a concuss, I mean, he immediately calls people over. He gets on a knee. He's already feeling like shit. I mean, and that feeling is a real one.
It's deflating.
Yeah, it's really deflating. So I know some offensive linemen, of course, are going to stand up for the quarterback, but it was just unfortunate on all parts. So,
yeah, very unfortunate. And I mean, obviously, I mentioned it, but like one of the coolest moments of that game was, and we'll talk about him, but was the moment that happened was Talanoa Hufanga realizing the moment and immediately praying for CJ Stroud, like in that moment. And I haven't seen a lick of Texans fans bringing that up because it's all been about Dirty Denver, just letting that be known. So I just think it's one where it ended up being a physical game. Now I will say this. There were a couple moments, and unfortunately, the Stroud moment was a key moment of the game, if not the keyest moment of the game. That said, though, there's a certain player or players that have been new to this team that have added something that this team has not had since 2015. And what I mean by that is it's specific to the middle part of the field. When you have a player like a Nico Collins, or on the flip side of this, right, like in Super Bowl 48, Demaryius Thomas going across the middle and Cam Chancellor just hitting him right in his ribcage. The Broncos have two players, and frankly, I should say two players that have really set the tone on this. But where that middle of the field happens, they're letting you know about it. Like, they are letting you know about it. And even when it's in a goal line stand, they're going to let you know about it. And it's one of the main reasons why they are one of the toughest defenses, if not the toughest defense in the red zone. And it's been the addition of Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. They have added, they have been everything that even analysts have even said when the Broncos signed them, is that they were going to add a lot of toughness to this team. And they truly added an enforcer mentality that, frankly, this defense needed. And they were really good last year, but you actually added something which is a physical element to this defense.
That I think all you have to watch is the goal line stand that the Broncos had. And it starts and ends with Dre Greenlaw stopping all three runs right at the goal line.
What's the stat you mentioned today?
Yeah, some guy, Jordan T. Lopez on Twitter was looking up some stats, and I mean, Dre Greenlaw has been, despite only playing 37% of the snaps, because he is on a pitch count, he is ramping up from injury. He recorded 4 run stuffs for a loss or no gain against the Texans. It's tied with any linebacker in a game this season. And he did that on 37% of the snaps.
In one drive, in one goal line stand. Like,
yeah.
The perspective, right? Like, in one goal line, and it's crazy because, like, even look at the last game that he just played, which was 20% of the snaps, and he had like 8 tackles. Like, it's crazy because it's like he packs so much into a game. The tackles may not have been there necessarily, but just the impact for what it is. Like, the Broncos have, and we said this when they signed him, the Broncos have not had a linebacker of that skill set, of that physicality, maybe since 2015, but for what we're probably going to end up getting for multiple seasons, they've not had a linebacker like him since Al Wilson or even DJ Williams. And where did DJ Williams go to? He went to the U. But no, I just think it's like they have not had a player like that, because like you can put him in a coverage and he'll still bring that physicality. You put him in the run, he's one of the nastiest linebackers that are going to be creeping up on you when it comes to the run defense.
Yeah, words can't describe the impact Dre Greenlaw is having with such minimum snaps being played. I can't imagine once he's back to, no restrictions and he's just playing ball. And then the other guy that you mentioned, Hufanga he's an all-pro right now. I don't think there's a debate about it.
Doesn't matter if it's first or second, he's an all-pro.
Yeah, there really isn't. Listen, I respect everyone's opinion. I really do. Whether I agree with it or disagree with it, I don't think an opinion will go against Hufanga being an all-pro right now. I mean, he is playing lights out, and he has transformed this defense, obviously more than Dre Greenlaw because he's been on the field more. But I mean, 36 run tackles, which is second most among safeties, 0.1 yards per coverage snap, 0.1 yards per coverage snap. And then he hasn't been targeted a lot in the passing game, but he's tied with the most pass deflections with 8 among safeties.
Half of those could have been interceptions. So
and if you were to just catch the ball, interceptions. So, and again, he's been targeted 18 times, has only allowed 43 yards. So it really is incredible what Hufanga is doing right now.
Yeah, it is. I was actually getting ready to pull up some stats here. what is it? They have Hufanga as like the ninth best like coverage defensive player, if you will, but that's like taking what is it, like all the percentage of the snaps, right? But I mean, still, like he's legitimately one of the best safeties in the NFL. And then you factor in Brandon Jones, who's starting to kind of get a little bit more comfortable, now with Hufanga. And frankly, the beautiful part about Greenlaw and in specifically Hufanga and missing that kind of enforcer mentality for this defense, it's contagious, bro. Like it is so contagious to where the people around them, the players around them, the defensive line around them, you're starting to kind of see the identity take shape between the secondary to the defensive line now, where last year it was the defensive line was a physical group. Like it was a physical group. Now you have that linebacker in Greenlaw who's going to be a part of that front seven. Then you put something in that with the back end with Hufanga. That just means that everything is going to be working hand in hand and being that in like almost that enforcer, so that because that defensive line knows if that is missed, if their line is missed, they know that they have a Bash brother behind them that is actually going to be ripping someone's head off.
Yeah. I mean, you have someone very ferocious at all three levels. I mean, again, our defensive line last year were very, very chippy and aggressive, and you need that from your defense. Now you add another guy that is very violent and will talk his talk at times in the second level in Dre Greenlaw, and then Hufanga. I mean, he will do the talking with his helmet. But when you get a group of guys like that, where it is just fast and violent, it is contagious.
Yeah, it's super contagious. Let's you ready to hand out some game balls?
Let's do it.
All right, let's hand out some game balls because I'm sure we'll be talking a little bit more about the offense. We'll be talking more about the defense. Let's talk about some game balls. All right, Jordan. By the way, that was the first time we got a chance to see our Game Balls video. Thank you to Mike for making it. It certainly came out elite. And this goes to anybody that is in the chat as well. So this is totally interaction, based too. So for people that are in the chat, type in the comments who you guys feel deserve game balls. What were even some of your takeaways too? So just feel free to chime in with where you're watching the stream, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, or the three of us in terms of where you're watching this. Are you watching it on Brandon's X, Jordan's X account, my X account, and of course the MHRT Network X account as well. So just feel free to chime in who you all feel deserve game balls. Jordan, lead us off.
My first game ball for the offense has to be for the Rook, RJ Harvey. Man, oh man, we all thought Evan Ingram was the Joker, and Ingram is going off. He has a slow start to start the season, but man, oh man, RJ Harvey.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I saw a stat with the amount of touches he's getting, which it's not a lot, but it's what he's doing with them. And his production is through the roof. The touchdown catch that he had, the route, that wheel route was great. He's been such a dynamic player for this Broncos offense that we haven't had in a while.
I can't take credit for this because I was listening to Altitude Radio, and friend of the program, and he had been on here. I don't know if you were on for that show. But Mike Sanford was on, and it was around the point in time that he was talking about the quarterbacks and everything. And obviously he was a big Bo Nix guy. But like earlier this week, he mentioned something that I thought was incredible that I never even thought of from a chemistry side of things to a locker room side of things to even when you're creating playbooks and you're creating things for your quarterback or you're creating things even for your running back. Jordan, who is one coach in college football, and I hope you know this, who's one coach in college football that coached both Bo Nix and RJ Harvey?
I coached both Bo Nix and RJ Harvey. Man, I am it is an interesting one. Who is it?
Gus Malzahn.
Okay, okay, yes, Malzahn was at UCF, correct.
So, and one thing Sanford mentioned was he said that Malzahn, when Bo was at Auburn and when Malzahn was at UCF, they loved the wheel route. And I think that when you see them incorporating the wheel route, it's getting to the point where, look, and I know it's something, and I don't mean to turn this into a Bo Nix thing on this angle, but it's just like you're starting to kind of see a lot of throws. Now it just needs to be a little bit more consistent with it, but you're still seeing him hit different throws. Like last year, he was not hitting the wheel route.
Yeah, he wasn't.
But like this year, it's knowing the fact that he had it in his bag back in his Auburn days, but you're adding a running back who's very familiar with the idea of the wheel route. So I don't know. The fact that Sean Payton and Davis Webb and Lombardi were very willing to put the wheel route in its bag for RJ Harvey, who, by the way, and I know we even mentioned this too, statistically was one of the best running backs in the entire country behind Ashton Genty, and in UCF was also rarely used in the passing game. And now you're starting to see why he probably should be used in the passing game a little bit more.
Yeah. Do you know Harvey is tied with our boy Emeka Egbuka with the second most receiving touchdowns for rookies at 4?
Something you really didn't have on your bingo card, you know?
Not even close. I mean, it's remarkable. I think RJ Harvey has been great. Now, I know the Falcons do this a lot. I would love to see the Broncos do this. The Falcons have Algier and Bijan in the game at the same time, and they would literally line Bijan up as a wide receiver, like in a bunch formation or whatever, or even as like a solo guy on if he was an X receiver.
Right.
I'd love to see that with RJ Harvey, just to see what creativity we can get out of that.
You also haven't seen much of an angle route. Now, by the way, I will say the Broncos, now I haven't seen it much of late, at least I can tell. But that Titans game, they did do some of the Dobbins-Harvey backfield. You really haven't seen much of the Dobbins-Harvey backfield as of late. So, but that is something that I'm kind of eyeballing because it's clear that's there, that they've done the Dobbins-Harvey backfield.
Are we holding that for not tomorrow's game, but we holding that maybe for the next game when certain someone comes into town?
Maybe get a chance to see a little RJ Harvey angle route. You know, something that we also haven't seen, which would be an RJ Harvey angle route.
Yep.
You know, have him torch Nick Bolton. So, no, I think it's a lot. I think it's one where, yeah, you are definitely having that thing in your back pocket, possibly as far as the Dobbins and the Harvey backfield. I think for me, look, we briefly touched on him. We talked about him. I have to give a game ball to Pat Bryant. You know, I got to give a game ball to Pat Bryant because I think when you look at that game specifically, between he and Bo Nix, they really completed they completed a huge moment of that game. Now, granted, it resulted in a punt, but like at least that drive, I think. But like they convert a really important 3rd and 11. It was like at a point in the game, I think it was like right near the one of the very last drives of the game, and he completed a pass that was layered really nicely, and Bryant found that soft spot in his own, and not a slant, Jordan, not a slant, but he was able to find it, and he caught the ball, was a sure catch, which is something you can absolutely say about Bryant. He is a surefire catcher of the football. When it touches his hands, it's not going down.
Yeah.
But they don't move the ball on a fair amount of those drives or a couple of those drives if it ain't for Pat Bryant on those key catches. And the specific one that deserves a lot of credit for as much as it was a slant was that 3rd down where it was pretty evident that he was dead to rights getting tackled. And he smartly reached, to where that 1st down marker was. And so I don't know where we're going to be with Bryant as far as, in 8 more weeks. But I think that in year 2, you may get a chance to see a little bit more, to a certain extent, just like we saw Troy Franklin in year 2 this year. Like, and I just think that from what you're seeing from Brian is pretty impressive, in kind of all phases now, specifically him as a blocking wide receiver.
Yeah, him as a blocking wide receiver, I really never had an issue with him. I mean, he was touted as one of the better blocking receivers in the draft. Like, there was no question about that. I do agree with you that we may see more of him in year 2. Now that's also interesting just because of what may happen in the offseason. We don't know what's going to happen with the room, and that may halt some things. And we'll get into that later, but or when the time comes. But the run blocking has never been my issue at all with Brian. I mean, he's probably one of our more physical and willing guys to block as a receiver, and it helps everybody involved. I did predict a low total for Pat Bryant for his season totals when we were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's not even on pace to do that, but I think his role right now for the team is more blocking than anything. So again, really can't fault him for that either. But I know everybody has their love affair with Bryant and all that, and I get it. But I'm still going to be very cautious with it, especially
he's one of the. I was gonna say he's one of those wide receivers where, it took me a little bit. I will say this: it took me a little bit to really appreciate Keenan Allen, and Keenan Allen had been my one of my favorite comparisons for Bryant, or archetypes for Bryant. It took me a little bit to like really appreciate the game of Pep or Allen, and I think that Bryant. I think that when you look at it from the standpoint of Bryant, it's probably one where it passes probably a little bit more so the film test, maybe the film test or the eye test, to where you really kind of have to trust what you're seeing. Because, and Grant, I know I'm going to be mentioning a block rep, but it's just the stuff that you don't even appreciate even in a box score, or should be appreciating more in a box score. And that is, like, there was a rep where he's blocking his tail off against, Will Anderson? Like, he's blocking his tail off. And you rarely see that with wide receivers. And frankly, for as much as Michael Thomas was hurt, you sometimes even saw that rarely with him. Maybe in the early part of that, the days you saw, but like, I think you're going to start to see him really earn his keep in year 2.
I mean, he has another great opportunity. I mean, Marvin Mims, unfortunately, out again. He's still coming back from the concussion, but I know people will continue to say it's more hate with me with Pat Bryant when it is not. I mean, I know Lando's one of the ones that he always claims.
He loves you, but he gives you a lot of grief for it. I know.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to be jumping and doing all these things about Pat Bryant when his pace stats aren't on track with what I even thought, which I thought I was being nice to him. But again, I do understand everybody's infatuation with him. Like it's reasonable. I do understand, but again, doesn't mean I hate him. And I do think at the end of the day, especially with a coach like Champagne, he is going to thrive under his system, especially with what he's being asked for. So it's as
Would you
simple as that.
maybe just to put the question on you? Would you give him a game ball for this game?
For this game, I know the third down catch was a big one. I think it was more about Bo on that pass, especially threading it between three people. I don't know, 2 catches, 20 yards.
Still move the chains.
That moved the chains. I think I would be more inclined to give Troy a game ball just because of that 2-point conversion catch. I mean, he had similar stats to.
He drops that ball. Troy drops that ball last year.
He does last year, but again,
Yeah.
you see the improvement with Troy. Troy. Again, some reason this up and down with the fan base with Troy is very weird, but man.
Well, so it's bizarre. Not to go back to the trade deadline. We want like some person. I mean, we wanted Waddle, but like it's bizarre because it's like we wanted Waddle, so all of a sudden because we wanted Waddle, it in turn turns to wow, you guys really hate Troy Franklin, and we're not saying us, but just in general.
Yeah.
Like the consensus. Oh, we want Waddle, so therefore we hate Troy Franklin or we hate the room. No, it has nothing to do with that. I think the stuff with Troy Franklin is so fascinating because it's like he still does have some consistent drop issues at times. I think there's been some times where it might be possible interference that they don't call. Like Tim,
that was a big one.
like in Tim Jenkins' video, I think he mentions that he thought it was pass interference on the ball where it was going to Troy Franklin and it in Little Giants form, it hit him in the helmet. So I think that was a little bit more of a PI there, but he's still kind of ebbs and flows, kind of struggling with the drops a little bit. But I will just say this because I agree. I would probably even give Troy a game ball for this, but it's like let's just kind of like take the Waddle stuff out of this. Like let's just say on the surface, if your top 2 wide receivers were projected to have 1,000 yards, which is that's Cortland, is he's still projected to have 1,000 yards, a little bit just above that. Because I got to think that even too his production is going to be ratcheting up here just a little bit. Would you take a 1,000-yard season of a Cortland Sutton and then possibly what we mentioned earlier, an 800-yard season for Troy Franklin coming into this season?
I mean, for me, 1,000%. I mean,
yeah,
Troy has been nothing but I going into the season, even when we drafted him last year, I was a big Troy Franklin guy. I knew it was going to take time. It was more of a project, and I think he's been making plays for this offense. So I sort of understand some criticism of Troy and stuff like that. Some of it just doesn't make much sense to me when it comes to Troy and the whole love-hate thing with him.
So let's see here. What I say he was top 5? I said he was top 5. As far as the yards after catch. So let's see here. So he's gone down in terms of yards after catch per reception, but he's 8th. He's still in the top 10.
Yeah,
he is still in the top 10. So I mean, you're still talking about a player that is really good after the catch. Now, I think to preface it, some of that has to do, I think, with the screen game.
And this is also dealing with an offense that's been inconsistent from week to week. Like we don't know. 1 week will be really good. The next week will be average. The next week will be good. And then for the next 2 weeks, we're awful.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah, he is deserved of a game ball. The other part of this, I think that I'm gonna give a game ball to. I'm gonna give it to the Broncos offense in the red zone. Like, no, it's not a player, but I'm gonna give a game ball to the Broncos offense in the red zone. If there is one thing that you can consistently say week in, week out in this part of the season, they are elite. And Bo Nix is elite in the red zone. And if you were to ask me what quarterback I will take any day of the week, aside from not just fourth quarter Bo Nix, is a quarterback that can put points up on the board in the red zone. 100%.
Does he have a good EPA in the red zone, or?
I think he has a good Popeyes rate in the end zone, or an Arby's rate. That was the one we just recently.
Arby's,
yeah, an Arby's rate. But no, he is like super elite in the red zone. The offense in general is super elite, and it's probably one of the reasons why. Look, I'm just saying, Sean Payton specifically is a little bit more aggressive when it comes to possibly 2-point conversions. Now, granted, situations and stuff have arisen where they probably should be going for 2, but it's why they've been so stinking successful with the 2-point conversion and just the red zone is that they're flawless right now. So I would just say the Broncos offense in the red zone is deservedly of a game ball.
Yeah, I think if there's anything that is consistent with this offense is that they're good in the red zone.
Like really good.
Like, we can hang our hat on that they are going to put up points.
It doesn't even matter the defense either. Like they're going to score.
They've done it against all forms of defenses. Bend don't break defenses, very stout defenses, very bad defense that hit every single defense. So that throw to Troy Franklin, I don't think people need to be. I think people should be talking a little bit more about that throw. Like that was like when people say quite literally the only place where a wide receiver can get it. That is quite literally the only place where a wide receiver can get it. And the wide receiver's got to make that specific adjustment on the ball, and Troy Franklin did that. Yeah, but it doesn't match everyone's agenda, Cam. So why would they be talking about it?
Because it doesn't match their agenda either. So what about you? Like, if we're gonna go maybe even to the defensive side of the ball,
I mean, can we just give everybody another defensive game ball? I mean,
Oprah style.
Yeah, I legit think even Alex Singleton, in my opinion, played a good game against the Texans. I legit think everybody on defense deserves a game ball. Who really played that? Like, I understand Abrams Drain was getting picked on a bit, but listen, he's being told to give cushion away, and Nico Collins, of course, had those easy, quick slants. That's really not Abrams Drain's fault if he's being coached to allow some cushion there and play off coverage. You really can't fault him for that. I will say, whenever Nico did catch it, he didn't move after that. It was
no.
So I won't say that Abrams Drain had a bad game just because of that. I really do believe everybody had a good game on defense.
If you were to tell me, once again, if you were to tell me that a Broncos secondary or 2 cornerbacks led by Riley Moss and Chris Abrams Drain would be holding its wide receivers to 0 touchdowns, just like they did last week against an even better unit and possibly a better unit than it comes to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, along with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, if you were to tell me that they didn't allow a single touchdown to their wide receiving core, and granted, like I said, the Houston's wide receiving core is not necessarily on that level. But if you were to ask me, based on that injury and stuff was retained, they wouldn't allow a single touchdown, I wouldn't believe you. So Chris Abrams Drain, for back-to-back weeks, has gotten the job done. has gotten the job done. And even though the Broncos will be playing Brock Bowers, who it's basically the existence of the Raiders offense, aside from Ash and Genty, it's for the most part clear sailing a little bit in terms of the wide receiver room.
Now, I will say, as someone that does have Brock Bowers in many, many leagues.
Yeah, but you have a jersey too.
Well, that quickly got sold. Quickly got sold and got myself a Bo Nix jersey. But as someone who's a Bo Nix, I also do have Bo Nix, but as someone that is a Brock Bowers fantasy manager, would like to see him at least get 15 catches. Don't get in the end zone.
You're saying Bowers is going to have 15.
I wouldn't mind 15 catches. Now, just don't let him find the end zone. I don't want the Raiders to score at all, but he can have 15 receptions and not get in the end zone. I mean,
15, 250, no touchdowns.
Nah, not 250. We'll give him 15 for like 75 yards. That's a good fancy number right there. Still want the Raiders to fail epically, but let's try to get Bowers' number still.
So yeah, I was really impressed, and I mean, I think on the surface, yeah, giving them all game balls on the defensive side of the ball is probably the right thing to do. I think for me, you got to give it to Greenlaw, right? You got to give one to Greenlaw. We talked about on the surf, like at the beginning of the show. He's an enforcer. Like he is a pure like enforcer on this defense, and the Broncos have not seen anything like him on a consistent basis, and we'll get to that point on a consistent basis, really since DJ Williams, Al Wilson. You pair the two together, he's got the coverage ability. He's got the ability to be a downhill linebacker that, frankly, this linebacking core misses. And we say so often of linebackers that can cover up the deficiencies of others. Greenlaw is an epitome of that. And the goal line stand, not only did it become one of the biggest moments of the game, it set the tone for the entire game. Yeah. For the fact that they didn't actually score a single touchdown in that game.
Yep, I agree.
And I was going to say too, like, what did we find out? That the Broncos defense has not allowed a single touchdown
in 4 games.
In 4 games. Like, it's absurd.
It is absurd. And one of the other main guys that is responsible for that and had a game where it looked like he was on the backfield probably more times than not, and it was Zach Allen. Zach Allen had one of the games that it was just like, hey, when is he going to be in the backfield again? And it was just the very next play and the very next play and the very next play. He even got the win taken out of him, which I thought it was a serious injury at first. Came right back in. I think he missed maybe a few plays, came right back in and made a play. Like, that, Zach Allen has been, man.
He's really put it up.
Jones conversations. Who would you rather have, Draymond Jones or Zach Allen? Man, oh man, all due respect to Draymond Jones, but Zach Allen has been all pro.
Speaking of Draymond Jones, he's now on his 3rd team since leaving the Broncos. So yes, I would venture to guess that it was been money well spent. And actually, there was a point where the stat book wasn't showing up for Zach Allen, but he's really turned it up these last couple weeks. So he's really turned, and frankly, he's turned it up so much that now he's leading the entire NFL again in quarterback hits.
And quarterback pressures.
And quarterback pressures. So yeah, he's one where it's a popularity contest. I will say that the All-Pro is a popularity contest at times. He would get my vote. He would get my vote when it comes to interior defensive lineman for an All-Pro. Let's talk about this Raiders game. I don't want to sleep on it, in a sense, like I don't want to sleep on the Raiders because I think that we should preface this in the sense of like you have a conference in the AFC that this is where it's going to pack like the win and loss of the AFC, but it's also a division, and division games matter. Like this is division is almost like if you're to look at a Big Ten conference, right? Like you're going to look at the Big Ten conference, or the ACC, which is obviously a trash conference. But like but if you're going to be looking at that, like the games that they win, they're impacted more just a little bit than that conference. Now, the win itself is obviously going to be impacted more in the grand scheme of things, with not just the Broncos being 8-2, but where they are in the division. It's just also a tough game. Like they are just tough games and a little bit more tougher games than normal. So yeah, the Raiders on paper don't look like a quality opponent right now. But also the Broncos are starting to kind of be a little bit more of the hunted instead of the hunter. And the Raiders are coming into Mile High on Thursday Night Football as the hunter. And so the Broncos just have to maintain its schedule. And there's a few keys to the game here, Jordan. There's a few keys.
Yeah. It is, that Raiders defense is not as bad as many people may think. Like they are, again, they're coached up by one of the best coaches that has coached in the NFL. I mean, I know everybody has their various opinions on Pete Carroll, but he's a very, very, very respected coach among their circle. I mean, Super Bowl champion. We all know who Pete Carroll is, and we all know Pete Carroll is a defensive guy. Have they had their times of been playing bad on defense? Of course, but again, I think it's year one. He is trying to implement not only his scheme but his culture, trying to get the right guys in and stuff like that. But with that being said, when it comes to Bo Nix against this Raiders defense, the Broncos are 4-0 whenever Nix passes for more than 215 yards, and he's been averaging 215, I think, the last 6 games, I want to say. And against the Raiders last year, he averaged 240. So I'm expecting Nix to have a good game against the Raiders. But again, this is not a Raiders team. I know they just traded away Jacoby Myers, and offensively, it's just going to be Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. But on defense, they got Max Crosby, and he is one of my favorite players to watch. And I know he's a Raider and all that, but the fact that he plays on every single snap, and you can't tell if it's snap 1 or snap 57, it's remarkable. So all attention is going to be on him.
And if there's anything we know between Broncos and Raiders games of yesteryear, current, whatever, when Max Crosby's been a Raider, he's always performed well when it comes to the Denver Broncos. He is the defensive equivalent of Josh Jacobs in a Raiders uniform. And so he has always owned the Denver Broncos. Now, the part that makes this solid is that the Broncos offensive line, if we were also to continue this last segment of game balls, it would be very right to hand out a game ball to both Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bowles. On the season, by the way, Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey have not allowed a single sack on the year. Yeah, Mike McGlinchey, not Garrett Bowles, but Mike McGlinchey, the one that Bronco fans like to cling to as of late, has not allowed a single sack. But nonetheless, that Max Crosby matchup is going to be probably numero 1 or 2 when it comes to matchups of the game. The obvious, even after that, is who's going to end up who's going to end up shutting down Brock Bowers. Like, that is the other side of this, is like, who's going to be shutting down Brock Bowers? Because, thankfully, I think Greenlaw being back is a positive sign. Now, I think that the area where you not heard his name, and that is a good thing, but you've heard his name being mentioned in terms of tight end racer and and everything. So no, Jake Ferguson is not a Brock Bowers, but I would venture to guess that you might see some Jade Barron at times when it comes to being on Brock Bowers. I also would not be the least bit surprised if you also see some Dre Greenlaw and some Talanoa Hufanga. Those three guys specifically, I would venture to guess is going to end up being at the best if they can a neutralizer for Brock Bowers. I think the part of this too is you play video games long enough. No, you're never going to have a game where you're going to shut a guy down for like one catch and 5 yards or something like that. This is I think, going to be one of those games where you just have to neutralize it in the red zone because Brock Bowers is going to get his. It's just you have to be able to minimize the damage for what Brock Bowers is going to be, bringing forth on the field.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. Brock Bowers will be that whole entire offense on Thursday night. And listen, Denver has had their struggles with tight ends, especially with the elite ones. So, and again, I truly do believe Brock Bowers probably the best tight end in the league.
Yeah.
But in terms of Raiders offense to our defense, Raiders offense is not a great rushing team at all, and the Broncos have been really good in stopping the run. I think this is going to be a big day for our secondary and forcing Geno Smith to pass the ball and all that. So I would not be surprised. I know Riley Moss had an interception the last time we played the Raiders. I'm wondering
and throwbacks, by the way.
and throwbacks. I'm wondering if he is due once again. So
yeah, maybe that's all it takes for the Riley Moss haters. By the way, is an interception for them to actually be quiet. Still baffles me that we're getting some haters on the timeline. By the way, in the Riley Moss hate track of the week, Riley Moss is 44 completion percentage when targeted.
Is that good?
I think that's good, Jordan. Isn't it good? So he's doing his job. Like he is doing, for as much as he's thrown, which does lead the NFL. He is doing his job. So I just think that, specifically the other side of that too is the Broncos have to turn the ball over, have to force to turn the ball over here. They got to be able to create some opportunities for their offense. And then the offense has got to capitalize. And I think that this is at least a good enough game where the Broncos can get going a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. Now, I think what's interesting is hopefully it translates. But the Broncos practice-wise this week, something to follow. I don't think they did a bunch of walkthroughs this week. Now, granted, I think that I think a lot of that is obviously the fact they do play on Thursday, but given the fact they play on Thursday is also a shortened preparation, so they kind of have to double up their preparation last week for not just the Texans but also the Raiders. So I think it's just interesting to follow. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them. But they really just did walkthroughs for the Raider game going into Thursday. Now it's imperative because if they can win this game against the Raiders, they will have a mini bye to the Chiefs, like big bye, if you will. They will have a mini bye before they face the Chiefs at home. So it's going to be an interesting game for sure. Because I have them winning by 2 scores.
Mm-hmm.
But you just see so often in these games, specifically the Raiders or even just division games, where it's like, if it's a 1-score game, am I really that surprised knowing the nature of the division, the nature of the rivalry, the nature of where the emotions of games go? Absolutely not. And it's also still the NFL.
That's the big one. It's the NFL divisional game. Division games, no matter how bad one team is or how good the other team is, it's division games are usually always 1-score games. It is what it is. These teams have film amongst film, notes among notes. They have everything. They know everything about you inside and out. It is what it is, and that's why usually these divisional games are one-score games. I will say the good thing for the Broncos offense, the Raiders defense are second to last in pressure rate. So Bo Nix will have time to throw the ball. I would love to see some deep passes be connected on a consistent basis so I can stop hearing it from everybody on social media pretending like he can't throw the deep ball. No, he is tied for first on deep touchdown passes, and last year he was the best in deep throws. So I really need Bo to shut everybody up. So he is going to have time. The Raiders not good in pressuring the quarterback, and I do think J.K. Dobbins may have a 100-yard rushing game in this game.
Maybe next year we do one of those bumper videos, and we add a bumper videos segment for games, and it's bold predictions next year, because that's like one of my bold predictions is I think Bo totals over 300 yards.
I would absolutely love that.
Which means for anybody that is paying attention, I think we see some legs in this game.
I wrote about it this morning.
I think we see Bo's legs, because that was the one part we didn't get a chance to talk about today, and it's that Nix's legs is arguably one of the top 5 underrated weapons in the entire NFL. Am I biased in saying that? Probably. But I think that Nix is a top 5 scrambler in the entire NFL. I think that it's one where if you have him on an open lane, he is so faster than people think. And I don't know whether or not he's on a Josh Allen arc or a Baker Mayfield arc, but that 25-yard run against the Houston Texans, that was very Josh Allen-esque. Like, very Josh Allen-esque. Not Baker Mayfield, but very Allen-esque. And I just think it's one where I love the designed QB power, QB sweep run that they incorporated, that they did for Alex Smith did, right, against Sean Payton in 2006 or whatever it was. But I would love to see a little bit more designed runs, and I would love to see, maybe this is one of the reasons why Bo has a bit of those phantom pocket moments where he steps up into the pocket, because he trusts his legs a lot. And so because he trusts the legs a lot, he kind of throws off some different platforms. So hopefully he can settle down there. Like, hopefully he can kind of settle down there. But I would love to see him when there is a running lane to be made, that he trusts the legs a little bit more. And Sean Payne talked about that after the game, or at least I believe it was like Monday. He said, if there is a lane to be had, we just need to teach him that if there's a lane to be had, he needs to take it off.
Yep.
And I will say, to a certain extent, that's a changing of the guard for Sean. Because I think that people need to be focusing on it. Like, that's a bit of a changing of the guard. So for anybody that kind of talks about the idea that, possible, like, Drew Brees, Merchant, whatever, like, it's just the idea that, like, when you look at it from the standpoint, I know you still have to see on the field, because what we saw on the field was a pretty pass-happy offense, which would tend to Drew Brees, Merchant, right? But I think that you need to see it where if that lane is open, Bo, use your legs, man. Like, use your legs. You are such a dynamic athlete. Frankly, is it even crazy to say that he's one of, if not the best athletes on the team?
No, there's not evidence otherwise to make me think that.
Because who would you put? Like, so, I mean, maybe some defensive players, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, he's got to be at least top 3. Benito, maybe. I don't know. Like,
That'd be a fun exercise to do.
get a nice poll from Broncos Twitter. Like, is Bo Nix one of the best athletes on the team?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, yeah, I think that, and you wrote about it too, and I'll give you the floor too. That is a weapon that I think the Broncos really need to capitalize on, and that might be one of the reasons why I'm really, like I said, I'm not comparing it, but I am kind of gravitating to the idea of a possible Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield-ish arc.
Yeah, I mean, so when Bo Nix, dating back to last year, his rookie season, whenever he has rushed for over 45 yards, the Broncos are 4-1.
Is that good?
That is very good. And then also to put the cherry on top, the Broncos average nearly 30 points per game when he rushes for more than 45 yards.
And not to possibly turn it in a little bit more. What are we playing in? What uniforms are we playing in?
Throwbacks.
It's throwbacks. It's November. It's Bovember.
November.
He is really good in November. Based on last year, he was really good in November. And just like his head coach, they really turn it on in November. Actually, they just get better every single month. They get better every single month. But November specifically is such an elite month as of late in the early part of his career for Bo, and specifically, obviously, Sean. So I think there's a very real chance that he has 300 total yards.
I would love 250 passing and 50 rushing. I really do believe the Broncos need to unlock his legs a lot more. I know he's not as fast as Lamar. I know he's not as fast as maybe even a Jaden Daniels, but I do believe he can have a similar impact in the running game as Josh Allen, as a Lamar, as a Jaden Daniels, as a Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Like he can have a similar impact those quarterbacks have on their offense. I really do believe that.
Why did Steve Spagnuolo have PTSD when he asked about Bo Nix and mentioned Josh Allen? We're not the only ones, and Spags is so much more smarter, or he's so much more smart than we are when it comes to actually studying the game. Like,
it's funny when these former players and these coaches, when they talk about Bo Nix, how different it is to the people, and I will call them people, the people on social media. The difference is astronomical.
It is fun, and I even said it. Like, you had some people that were analysts that were really into him. You had some analysts that were into him and fell in love with him, but the one constant, I felt like I was going to quote Field of Dreams there. The one constant through all the years, Broncos country, has been former players who fell in love with Bo Nix and still fall in love with Bo Nix.
Yep. And there's even current players that do it. I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, and look, I understand some of the Tua comps because of the offense the Broncos are running. If Tua had a lick of the mobility of Bo, he might be just a tad bit more when it comes to Mike McDaniel's motion, when it comes to the Miami offense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think we're going to get a good game from Bo as far as our prediction. And if Denver Trav is still here, I'm feeling it. Could you imagine, given all of the circus of everything that's going on with the trade deadline, Jalen Waddle, for us to have a 2 wide receiver 100-yard game, but also like for Troy Franklin specifically to ball out, that would be something like in terms of the Sean Payton ledger. where it'd be like, see, told you so. We don't need a wide receiver.
It'd be very Sean Payton-esque to do that as well. Like, I could totally see that happening. Listen, I hope Troy really balls out. It'd be in front of a national crowd. I think he'd really, insert himself into a talk about where everybody's going to know his name. Yeah, not a lot of people actually know Troy Franklin. I know that may sound outlandish, but there are national people that have called him Tony instead of Troy, and like it's a real thing. So I really hope Franklin can kind of introduce himself to the world tomorrow.
I will say, Al Michaels has a very illustrious career. For the record, he's going to go down as one of the best play-by-play commentators we've ever seen. He's still a bit rough to listen to. And what carries him, and it's so funny, what carries him is Kirk Herbstreit. And I really enjoy listening to Kirk Herbstreit talk. And so from the current state of where things are, I would love to hear Kirk Herbstreit rave about the Oregon days of Bo Nix and Troy Franklin, just for people to understand like how good Troy Franklin was when it came to Oregon. And to a certain extent, like that's why I think I love like the color commentators that are just so good. And I wish we didn't have, this is a bunny trails are winding down the show. I just I hate studio stuff because I hate it because like I wish you could just mold your favorite, team of broadcasters and have them be a part of a team together.
Yeah.
Because Herbstreit is one of my favorite color commentators of all time. Like, and I actually think he's a better NFL color commentator than college, and I like him in college, but I think it's because he does college where NFL just it tastes more as far as listening to it because of the fact that he's just so good and he's been seeing these players and the growth of these players. So he's one of my favorites. So I don't know. Like I would love to just see them pair like an elite team together for like games.
I agree with you. I mean, Kirk is also one of my favorites, and he's gonna have Peter on the field, and we'll be able to see his dog on the field, and hopefully some of our Broncos guys can go over there and pet Peter. But yeah, I love Kirk. He's been good.
Are you because I was gonna say like hating on Peter the dog for Kirk has been kind of a thing of late.
Those people are worse than the people that hate Bo Nix.
Listen, I understand maybe I understand it might be a little bit too much, but it's just about a guy who loves his dog. Like,
yeah, like, come on.
Like,
jeez.
It's just about a guy who loves his best friend, and he lost his dog last year. He has a lot of Goldens, and so it's just one where when you travel as much as he does,
yeah,
you needed a companion. And sometimes your wife's not going to be traveling as much with you at times. It's like an athlete schedule. You need a companion. What better companion to go with you than a dog? The only thing that is a bit, unfortunate is that but as far as watching is you want to make sure he doesn't take a dump on the field or a dump during game day. That's it. Like that is it. But nonetheless,
especially on our great field, we take good care of that field.
But that like 5 minutes later, the Walton Penner group is just going to basically just probably lift up that, football field and just institute another one. By the way, as we're rounding out, the Broncos did announce today a site to get a chance to view the plans. So for any fan that wants to get a chance and view the updates and the stuff that they're installing for the stadium, that they can go visit that site. I believe it's like what did they say? It was like something new stadium at Broncos.com or like
Yeah,
DenverBroncos.com.
there is a specific URL for it.
Yeah. So, but I'm excited. It's going to be around Burnham Yard, and going to be a lot of acreage. Going to be a lot of acreage for that stadium.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts as we're winding down the show?
I think the Broncos have a very favorable game for them tomorrow night. I do have the Broncos winning 27-13, and I do believe we will have a full, complete game from all three phases of the football.
3.
I do believe special teams has a day.
Yeah, hopefully no late substitutions, which have been a thing the last
apparently
2 weeks. I will say 31-17.
Wow.
Just when you get the vibe of throwbacks, the consistent theme of how they play so good at throwbacks. They play so good at throwbacks. So I think we get to about a 31-17 game. And for the record, if these next 2 games are one where Bo Nix puts 4 touchdowns each in each game, you're going to see me be a bit insufferable on the timeline in regards to that MVP ladder.
I mean, his touchdowns do make it seem like he's in that race, despite many people arguing otherwise.
Or NFL CBS, which ended up getting community noted.
That was awesome.
That was incredible.
Need a lot more of that on the timeline.
We need a lot of community noted, which is, by the way, one of the best features.
It is actually, yeah.
In a state of fact checking, that is actually one of the best features on a social media. Thank you to everybody that chimed in. We had a lot of action tonight from the Raiders fans, Jack Kenna, to Chewy's Raiders coverage. Thank you for dropping in. To Alden Castillo, Denver Trav, really good work that Denver Trav does. Make sure you check everything that he does out there. Obviously Landon, Dante does a lot of great stuff for the Cruise Talk Broncos, Crew Talk Sports stuff for I think he does a show on Monday and more Wednesday night. Really good college football guy too. Believe in Bo Nix, obviously, and then I haven't seen him in a minute, but I think a lot of it's been Facebook stuff. But good to see Clayton back in the house. Clayton's a really good dude. He's a big Bronco fan, obviously. So a lot of fun. And what can I say about Moose River Hummer in the house, dropping the very last comment of the night, and he says 29-13 in favor of the good guys. I will say, I wonder how is he even coming to the conclusion of 29. I'm not gonna debate that because John was like accurate, like darn near accurate of predicting the score of like 18 to. He said 18 to 16. It was 18 to 15. So John, if you're on the stream, you are Sorcerer Supreme. We might actually have to nickname you Doctor Strange. So again, for anybody that was in the chat and didn't get a chance to comment, thank you guys so much for hopping in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button for the MHRT Network page over there on YouTube. You can also like us on Facebook at MHRT Network. You can also subscribe to the Mainly Broncos YouTube channel, where we are posting the short forms and content of some of the clips that were in today's show and even past shows that are on there on that YouTube channel. We are also doing short form on TikTok and Instagram. So make sure you follow us at Mainly Broncos. And you can also follow us. I believe it's at Mainly-Broncos- podcast. I believe they're over at TikTok. And of course, support the boys. Support the boys. Follow the boys over there on the X Twitter handle. Make sure you follow them at MHRT Network, at Brandon Miller PO, at Jordan T. Lopez. If you have any Miami Hurricane hatred, please feel free to shoot it Jordan's way. And also follow myself at Cameron Parker PO. If you have any Nebraska hatred, feel free to send it my way. I will not reply. So thank you guys to everybody who is hopping on. And as always, and as appropriate to every Bo Nix hater in the house.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down.